In this video, we explore the design of magic in both fantasy fiction and role-playing games to determine what's right for your own D&D settings. Hi, Bob here, and welcome to Bob Worldbuilder, the D&D channel where we improve our games together. We're going to start with a basic overview of magic, then look at how it normally works in D&D 5e, before checking out some alternative magic systems for inspiration to make magic more unique at your gaming table. Including this video's sponsor, the Spheres of Power 5e Kickstarter by Drop Dead Studios. Links and timestamps in the description below. There is no rule stating magic must be included in your setting, but the wielding of magical power is a classic element of Dungeons & Dragons which draws many players to the game. I think removing it entirely would be fun for a one-shot or a mini-campaign, but ripping the magic out of D&D would likely make it difficult to keep your players interested for a long-term campaign, because interactions with strange, terrific, and fantastic items, characters, and creatures is a cornerstone of the fantasy genre that we all love. Of course, magic can take many forms, so we're going to use 4 common terms for describing magic in fantasy fiction and games: high, low, hard, and soft. High magic and low magic describe the accessibility of magical forces. High magic or high fantasy refers to fictional settings where magic is so widely utilized that the functions of everyday society depend on it, much like people today depend on electricity and telecommunications. A familiar example of a high magic setting is the Forgotten Realms of Dungeons & Dragons, where the weave permeates all things and is easily manipulated, and there are even magic shops where characters can simply purchase enchanted goods. In low magic settings, the main characters are typically the only people in generations, if ever, to be exposed to the forgotten or hidden magic of their world, much like the hobbits of the Lord of the Rings. Hard magic and soft magic refer to the character's grasp of magical power. Is it contemporary, well-defined, and consistent for dedicated practitioners? Hard magic. Is it mysterious, otherworldly, and ancient? Soft magic. High magic settings typically employ hard magic systems because magic is a utility that must function in predictable ways, while low magic settings typically use soft magic systems, but this isn't always the case. While the wider world of Harry Potter doesn't even know magic exists, the students of Hogwarts have textbooks with explicit instructions for mixing potions. And while many people in Star Wars do know the Force exists, it is wielded by an extremely limited number of people in the galaxy and controlled by their thoughts and their feelings. Personally, I prefer D&D with hard arcane magic and soft divine magic in an overall low-ish magic setting. This way, the party and the bad guys are pretty much the only magic users, and the characters have variable understanding based on the source of their magic. First, to oversimplify how magic works in D&D 5e. It can exist as class features, enchanted weapons, or other items, but will most often be encountered through spells, individual effects cast by manipulating the raw magic of the weave in a specific way, via incantation, physical ingredients, and/or specific gestures with the body or hands. Spells have defined ranges, durations, areas of effect, and power levels 1 through 9. These spell levels are correlated to, but not equivalent to character class levels. Also, based on their class level, characters have a particular number of spell slots for each spell level, which can be expended to cast a particular number of spells of each spell level every day from a list of spells that they either always know or must prepare each morning. This idea of spells being stored and released from the caster's mind is called Vancian magic, after fantasy author Jack Vance. Some exceptions are rituals, which take longer to cast, and cantrips, which are generally less powerful than leveled spells. And fun fact, there are currently 495 named and described spells in the official D&D 5e publications. I generally use this system, and I'm sure most D&D 5e groups out there do too. It works for a high magic setting with a hard magic system, but I don't love it. It's not entirely intuitive, and it has a fairly rigid structure, So let's walk through some alternatives that might be better suited for the style of game you want to play. This first alternative comes right from the Dungeon Master's Guide, Spellpoints, where characters have a pool of spell points based on their caster level, and each spell has a point cost based on the spell's level. The point cost and point pools are clearly based on the slot system, so the numbers are still not very intuitive, and as written, this variant is for full casters, bards, clerics, druids, sorcerers, and wizards, with adjustments for paladins, rangers, eldritch knights, and arcane tricksters, but warlocks are not included. I'm a fan of this less hard, mana point style magic system because even though the conversions add a layer of math, spellcasting is streamlined for several classes, and spell points are far more flexible than spell slots, allowing higher level characters to cast tons of lower level spells, but there's still a limitation of 1 level 6 or higher spell per day. And a common criticism is that sorcerers who already have a flexible casting feature effectively lose something unique if spell points are available to all casters. For this reason, I think spell points make a great alternative specifically for sorcerers, because their magic already has this chaotic edge, particularly through their meta magic feature, which allows them to tweak the otherwise predefined and strict interpretations of D&D spells. And this very idea of fluidity over rigidity is the core of Drop Dead Studios' Spheres of Power. Spheres of Power was originally designed in 2013 for Pathfinder 1E as a completely new magic system where spellcasting characters are built not through predetermined formulas, but through creative concepts. With this new Kickstarter, Spheres of Power for casting characters and Spheres of Might for martial characters are coming to Dungeons & Dragons 5e. Mechanically, players choose a casting tradition, similar to a background, and spend talents to acquire or enhance spheres of abilities, basically thematic collections of spell-like effects, and they spend spell points to augment those abilities. So with the playtest packet here, I want to recreate Braum, my half-elf kinda druid from my first campaign where we basically made everything up. Concept, check. Now, we pick one of the 20+ casting traditions, and we could even make our own, but druidic looks like exactly what I want, gaining their magic through communion with nature and the spirits contained therein. So my key ability is Wisdom, and it looks like I have talents for Alteration, Conjuration, Destruction, Nature, or Weather spheres. For my class, I could choose one of the 8 new ones, but I'll go with the Adapted Druid, who of course relies on the spheres for their magic. So at level 1, I get my spell point pool and 1 talent, with which I will unlock the Nature Sphere, commanding the very terrain to do my bidding. So I gain the Geomancing and Spirit Sphere abilities, and I also get to select one Geomancing package, air, earth, fire, metal, plant, or water. You fans of the channel know I will definitely go with the plant package. And this grants me 3 Herbiturgy abilities, like Entangle here, which I think I can cast as much as I want, and it creates some difficult terrain and restrains creatures. But I can augment it to do damage instead, or spend some spell points to restrain and do damage, or make it shoot 10 feet up into the air. Overall, Spheres of Power is brilliant for its flexibility as a concept-based system, both for DMs in their establishment of hard or soft casting traditions in their setting, and for players constructing characters with far more freedom than their standard 5e counterparts, while remaining fairly balanced with them, so they can be played at the same table simultaneously. Both Spheres of Power and Spheres of Might will be 200-page books available in PDF, softcover, and hardcover, and you can get more details through the Kickstarter link down in the description. Now, if you're looking for a more chaotic magic system, look no further than Dungeon Crawl Classics, where all magic comes from powerful, otherworldly beings, and channeling that power through your fragile mortal body is dangerous and unpredictable. Wizards harness black magic from demons, elemental magic from nature, or white magic from overlapping planes of existence, while clerics are given idol magic through their worship of a deity. Familiar, right? Well, the defining feature of DCC magic is the spell check, where you roll 1d20, add your level and casting modifier, and compare the result to a DC table for that specific spell. In addition, Spell Burn allows casters to temporarily sacrifice points from physical ability scores to boost their spell rolls. Spells can be lost through casting failures, but can otherwise be cast without limitation, and spell failures can result in disapproval penalties for clerics and mutation-like corruptions for wizards. Here's the Cleric's Darkness spell. It gives a basic range, duration, casting time, and description, but each casting includes a randomly rolled manifestation of the effect, and a wide range of actual results based on your spell check. On a 12, the bare minimum for success, you create a fixed 20-foot radius dark space at your location for 1 round. On a 20, you create a similar space, but you can choose any point within 100 feet to cast it, and you can choose to maintain the spell and move it on future turns through concentration. On a 30, you generate a massive cone, sphere, or line of blackness that extinguishes non-magical lights. You can see through it, move it, and maintain it for a whole day through concentration. If you're interested in the wild, soft magic nature of DCC spellcasting, you can check out the Quick Start and Core rulebooks through the links below. And I really wanted to explore the mind-bending, soft, and low magic of Call of Cthulhu, but then I realized spellcasting is not even covered in the starter set, so I'll need to get some more books first. But feel free to check out my D&D Player's Guide to Call of Cthulhu through the card above, and definitely check out the Spheres of Power and Might 5e Kickstarter for more freedom in both character creation and spellcasting. If you liked this video, please subscribe and share it with a friend. Thank you for watching, and keep building.